Hey everyone, yes I know I'm late, but the video is finally here and let's get into it. Starting with the design, it's not trying to be super fancy or attention seeking, but it definitely looks clean and modern. If you really want to admire its beauty, you will likely just stare at it when it's off, because once you turn it on, you'll be looking at whatever you are working on, obviously. But yes, I actually like the design. Slim bezels on the sides, thicker chin at the bottom with the logo doing its thing there. The material is decent quality plastic. Not premium, but definitely not cheap either. The stand is metal with some plastic around it, and the base plate is also metal on the inside with a plastic outer layer. The overall stability is good. It won't wobble just because you type slightly louder than usual, but in my experience, a high-speed fan directly blasting towards your monitor or let's say behind you might make the monitor dance a bit. You'll notice a bit of wobble, not scary wobble, but it's just like, oh, it's dancing. Also, it has 100 into 100 VISA mount support. Cable management though. Yeah, nothing much going on here. Your cables are just going to be living their free life, like Tyrion Lannister. For controls, you get 4 rectangular buttons, power on top and rest for OSD navigation. But thankfully, there's also a joystick. There is also a Kensington lock in case you don't trust your best friend who just want to borrow it for 2 days. Now ergonomics, and this is where it absolutely delivers. You get height adjustment, tilt, swivel, and even portrait or vertical mode. Everything you need. Adjusting the monitor is super easy. Just apply a little bit pressure and it moves smoothly. But here's one important tip. If you're switching to vertical mode, tilt the monitor up first. Otherwise, it's going to bump the base. It won't break, but it will look like the monitor is trying to kiss the stand for no reason. For ports, you get power input, 2 HDMI, 1 DisplayPort and 1 3.5mm audio jack. Pretty much everything most people need. Would Type-C be nice? Yes. But at this price, asking for Type-C is like asking your crush to text first. Let's be realistic here. And yes, it does come with speakers. 2 2-watt stereo speakers. They're not going to impress anyone. They sound a little bit high-pitched, like they're trying their best but haven't slept in days. But they get the job done. If you're too lazy to grab your earphones, and yes, I know you are lazy, we all are. Let's be honest. Alright, so let's talk about the important stuff. Resolution, refresh rate, and bit depth. Basically the things that decides how crispy your display looks. This monitor is a 2K WQHD panel, which means it's nicely sharp and detailed. Now yes, you can run it at 1080p or even feed it a 4K signal if you really want to. But remember, the monitor is designed for 2K. That's where it looks its best. Anything higher or lower, it's just the GPU trying to impress, but the panel's like, bro, I'm still 2K. Now, speaking of GPU, your experience will depend on what you plug this monitor into. In my case, I have connected it through HDMI to my laptop, which runs on the integrated GPU. As far as I remember, my system can go up to 4K at 60Hz. And based on my testing, this monitor does support 10-bit color at 2K 60Hz. But if you set the refresh rate to 120 or more, you don't get the 10-bit depth. But here's the interesting part. This is a true 8-bit panel. However, some unofficial sources say it might be using FRC to simulate 10-bit. However, the brand doesn't officially claim so. But as you can see, I can select 10-bit. And honestly, I didn't notice any banding, color tearing or weird gradients. So either it's doing FRC or it's performing miracles. I'll just take it. If you want to change bit depth yourself, just go into the GPU settings. Since I am on AMD, I am using Adrenaline software to set it up. In case of NVIDIA, just go to NVIDIA control panel. Also, you can get maximum of 144Hz via HDMI. To get 120Hz, you have to use DisplayPort. Now, I wasn't able to test actual games because my laptop decided to cosplay as a space heater, literally hitting 100 degrees centigrade. So instead, I did the UFO motion test to check for ghosting, and from my general uses, I haven't noticed any lag, tearing or motion issues. As I didn't play games, I can't say on that, but in day-to-day uses and mainly for productivity like video editing, graphic designing, photo editing, you will get instant response. You will not feel any delays or lags. Alright, let's take a quick tour of the OSD menu. To open it, just press any button on the monitor except the power button because, well, that's one turns the whole things off. Once the OSD pops up, you can use the label buttons as shortcut and click the joystick to enter the menu, and you can use that to glide through the settings like a pro. Picture settings. Here's where you will find the usual suspects. Brightness and contrast. Blue light filter for those late night just one more video sessions. Adaptive contrast. It's also called ACM here. Super sharpness and maximum brightness mode. Basically everything that affects how your screen looks. Color settings. This is where things get spicy. You can adjust gamma, color temperature, which is only adjustable in user mode, 6-axis saturation and 6-axis hue control, grayscale mode, and color space. Additionally, there are presets profiles like action mode, HDR mode, standard, graphics, etc. If you switch to the general color space, you will notice the most customization options are available. In the other modes, most of the settings are grayed out, so don't panic, your monitor isn't broken. Audio, pretty straightforward. Volume and mute. You can adjust the volume or you can just mute it. Gaming menu. Here's where the performance tuning lives. Overdrive, AMD FreeSync, refresh rate display, VVR, that's visual response boost, on-screen aim point. For those people who wants to pretend every game is an FPS. OSD settings, customize the menu itself. You can change the language, OSD timeout, menu transparency, and also lock the OSD. So your friends can't mess with your settings and make the screen looks like a Minecraft torch. System settings. Here you can check or change the input, toggle auto source, change video modes, set hotkeys, adjust HDMI black labels, enable quick start or deep sleep. And yes, you can save all your settings once you have got them dialed in. You can also download Acer's virtual OSD software directly from their website. It basically mirrors all the controls you would normally access using the physical buttons on your monitor. So instead of leaning forward and fiddling through menus, you can adjust everything right from your desktop. Brightness, contrast, gamma contrast, blue light, eye comfort modes, pretty much the whole settings menu is right here. You can even customize hotkeys, set aim assist crosshairs, and the app will show your monitor serial number if you need it. Personally, I use this all the time because it's just way more convenient than reaching behind a monitor and guessing which button I press. Just point, click, and you are done. Alright, let's talk about the display. The panel quality, color reproduction, standard dynamic range, higher dynamic range performance, and of course the viewing experience. Basically the part you'll be staring at for hours while ignoring your responsibilities. This monitor uses an agile Splendor IPS panel, and honestly the color reproduction is very pleasing. Whether you are watching YouTube videos, streaming movies, or just browsing around, the visual look crisp and well balanced. The colors are accurate without looking oversaturated, and overall it's just easy on the eyes. Now about the blacks. They are nice, not OLED level deep like my emotional issues, but definitely decent for IPS. You can tweak gamma to make them look even better. In normal day-to-day uses, you will be totally fine. But if you're watching one of those super dark shows where half the scene is just people whispering in the dungeon, you might bump up the brightness and notice the black starts to wash out. Personally though, I never watch content at the max brightness, so it hasn't bothered me much. But again, if you're watching everything at max brightness, I am worried about you more than the panel. Now let's talk about the SDR versus HDR. That's standard dynamic range versus higher dynamic range. And yes, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really use HDR on this thing. HDR does increase the brightness, bump up the shadows and all. Sure, but the colors suddenly act like they're shy. lie. In YouTube HDR though, everything seems pretty normal, but the moment you play an offline HDR movie on something like Windows Media Player, well, the picture gets flat. It's just boring. It's like the color just clocked out and went home. I miss the colors the way I miss my ex. Painfully, but life goes on. Pause the video now and compare it yourself. You'll exactly what I am talking about. Also, the HDR setup isn't just plug and play magical. You need to enable HDR in the Windows display setting and then in monitor's OSD menu. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Good luck with that. And once the HDR is on, half the settings become grayed out. So you'd basically have to accept whatever mode it gives you. Games, well, HDR results may vary game to game. Some look fantastic, some look like someone rubbed Vaseline on your screen. You'll have to taste it yourself. Now viewing angles, very solid. Classic IPS advantage. I watch movies with my friends, everyone sitting at weird angles and no one complained about color shift. Unless you are planning to watch the movie from ceiling like Spider-Man, you are good. So yes, overall great HDR experience. Lovely colors, good viewing angles, blacks are decent. However, higher dynamic range is sometime thing. Just a mood, but not my favorite. Check out the visuals on screen. Judge with your own eyes. And I'll stop talking. See you in the next part. Now let's talk about the color space coverage. I don't have a professional colorimeter to measure accuracy directly, but I did find a reliable workaround. I used DisplayCal software to extract the monitor's ICM profile and then compared it using the ICC view. This gives us a visual representation of how the monitor's color coverage stacks up against standard color spaces. You can also view the full profile details inside DisplayCal itself. Here's the screenshot on the screen. From what I have observed, the color space coverage of this monitor is very good to what the brand claims. Of course, there could be a slight variation from unit to unit, but overall it looks pretty solid. The monitor also comes with a factory calibration certificate, and based on that the delta E is below 1, which is excellent, and it seems to be true as you can see in the screenshot. So yes, color accuracy out of the box seems genuinely good. However, in my unit it was a bit warm, which you can reduce it in color temperature in the OSD menu. Moving on to the text clarity. Text is sharp for general use like browsing and content consumption, but in certain apps, especially File Explorer or Notepad, you might notice a slight softness. Nothing major, but it's worth mentioning. For everyday use though, it's completely fine as you can see here on the screen. Now regarding the speakers. I'll say the speakers are okay, not perfect. Quite high pitched, but it does the job. I appreciate its loudness, it's quite decently loud. I have watched multiple movies and the stereo separation is good. Dialogues are clear, However, it's like it have no bass, like almost none. I tried to listen music, but I couldn't listen for long. But again, it's a monitor, can't expect much. I have played some copyright-free audio and I'll leave it up to you to judge. If you want a dedicated speaker review or sound comparison, let me know down in the comment. I'll try to make a separate video for it. And now a slightly bitter experience. The first unit I received had stuck pixels. The brand requires a minimum of 5 stuck pixels to issue a replacement. So instead of dealing with that, I returned it back to Amazon and ordered a new one. The twist? The second time I bought it, the price had dropped. And instead of 15,000 rupees, I bought it for 13,800, which is honestly a steal. At this price point, getting 95% DCI-P3 coverage, a 2K panel, 180Hz refresh rate, and a fully adjustable ergonomic stand is incredibly rare. I leave the Best Buy link in the description and pinned comments. Definitely check it out if you are considering it. So what has my overall experience been like? Honestly, very positive. I am a video editor and graphic designer, so color accuracy matters a lot to my workflow. While this isn't a cinema-grade reference display, it's absolutely good enough for social media content, editing, color grading, photo work, and motion graphics. I have used it for all of that and it hasn't disappointed me once. If you are into gaming, you are going to enjoy the smoothness. Just keep in mind the HDR performance is average, so don't buy it expecting premium HDR. And no issue with the response time either. Never faced any screen tearing or lags. If you're a coder, I would say it's usable, but there are monitors that handles text clarity better. So if your work is heavy on reading and writing codes all day, you might want to look at alternatives. But as an all-rounder for creators, gamers and everyday use, this one is just excellent. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit like, subscribe and let me know what you want me to cover next. Thank you for watching.